Okay, trigger warning to begin with. This article does discuss the shootings, the deaths, the murders of two children on separate occasions, and we're going to look at those, perhaps one in particular. And so there's trigger warnings for that reason, but I'm also going to mention that this is actually, I think, quite a controversial subject, and I think that I'm going to be expressing my opinion on the subject, and you may have very strongly differing views than my own. You may find what I have to say on the subject kind of offensive, so there's that too. I'm going to start off by giving you an overview of the subject as best as I can, and then we'll have a look at a few of the details within the article more closely. But in essence, this article is talking about, it's a bit confusing to explain, so I'll do my best. But it's related to the death of this girl here, Jaslyn Adams, who was 7 years of age when she was shot down in a gang-related drive-by shooting while she was in a drive-thru at McDonald's in her father's car. So she was a victim, 7 years of age. She was killed by a drive-by shooting. And also the article relates to Adam Toledo, who you may recall, he was shot dead again in Chicago. He was shot dead on the 29th of March 2021. Also gang related, if I recall. I remember looking into the details at the time, but that's been several months ago. He was carrying a gun. He was chased by police officers, at least one police officer, and the police officer shot and killed Adam Toledo, 13 years of age, after he had dropped a gun or a toy gun. I can't remember the details. So a tragic event. I believe that situation's still being investigated. But by and large, I think it's fair to say that the police officer was just doing his job, frankly. And, the young man, the 13-year-old, ought not have been out and about in alleys with gang members holding a gun, I'm going to try not to go on a tangent. I fear that I have. But the article's talking about the deaths of these two children. And it's talking about the CEO of McDonald's. McDonald's is headquartered in Chicago, where both of these where both of these deaths of the children occurred. And the CEO of McDonald's, who was called Chris Kempczynski, texted his good friend Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And we'll see what he texted. Let's have a look at what he texted to her. So he texted with both situations of Jaslyn Adams and Adam Toledo. With both, the parents failed those kids, which I know is something you can't say, even harder to fix. That's what the CEO of McDonald's texted to Mayor Lori Lightfoot. So he literally blames the deaths of these two children on the parents, on their respective parents. And I'm going to be honest, when I read through this initially, I was kind of disgusted by that. I was thinking that, well, this isn't the parents' fault. Certainly not in the case of the young girl, Jaslyn Adams, who was just in a drive-thru, getting some food. But, actually, as it turns out, the parents are to blame, frankly. Here's my opinion. Here's where my commentary slips in. The parents are to blame. In Adam Toledo, it's kind of clear-cut, in my opinion. Again, I've not looked into the Adam Toledo situation for several months, But seemingly he was out at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning in Chicago, dressed like a gangster. Sorry to say it if that offends anybody, but and performing petty crime, if I remember correctly, with a gun. I can't remember if it was a toy gun or not. He was running away from police. To me, the police were not at fault. They shot him not just because they like shooting children, but they shot him because they felt he was an immediate danger to them. He was holding a gun. Okay, he dropped the gun moments before the shooting, but you're a police officer. You're chasing the guy down, the boy down. You're not fully aware of these things. So to me, in Adam Toledo's case, Adam put himself in danger, and ultimately, as the CEO of McDonald's stated, that's the parents' fault. That's the parents' fault, and I find it hard to disagree with him in regards to Adam Toledo. I believe that Adam Toledo was let down by his parents, by his family. I guess you could say by his community too. I guess you could say by the mayor, but certainly by the parents. Why were the parents letting him stay up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning? Why weren't the parents putting an end to his burgeoning gang career? They let him go down that path. They didn't stop him. So I agree. I agree with the McDonald's CEO in that regard. His words are very, very harsh. His words are kind of scary and kind of repulsive in a way, but he's been factual. He's been factual, certainly in regards to Adam Toledo, that his parents ought to, claim responsibility for allowing their son to put himself in danger. Now, the situation in regards to Jaslyn Adams is a little bit different, of course, naturally, but it's still pretty much the same. The outcome, in my mind, is, the CEO of McDonald's is right again. The parents are to blame. Certainly the father. So she was killed whilst in a drive-thru at McDonald's, whilst in the car of her father. Well, why is that the father's fault? Well, because seemingly, allegedly, the shooting was to an attempt to murder the father, because the father allegedly is a gang member. So, if it were the case, or if it is the case, that the father was not a gang member, that the father was a responsible member of the community, or even slightly irresponsible, but, was not involved in gang life, thug life, then it would be wrong to blame the parents. But if it is the case, as has been alleged, that the father is a gang member, and the drive-by shooting was targeted at the father, then you've got to think, well, then surely the father does have to be held responsible to some extent, morally speaking or such. That's my feeling. So the article tells us about Jaslyn's mother, who is called Lanisha Walker, and she responds to the McDonald's CEO's message to Lori Lightfoot. So the mother of Jaslyn Adams is disgusted by the McDonald's CEO's take on things, by the McDonald's CEO blaming of the parents. She's disgusted. She's claiming that she's not at fault. She, as a parent, was not at fault. And she finds it disgusting that he's putting the blame at the hands of the parents. And she also complains that McDonald's hasn't reached out to her in any way, shape or form. That's what the article tells us. But again, ultimately, to me, in my mind, If it, if Jaslyn's father is or was a gang member, and if this was a gang attack, and it seems to be, or allegedly that's what's been alleged, the accused, those that were arrested of the shooting, are these three young men here, face tats, neck tats. They look like homeless bums. Devonte Anderson, Demond Gody, and Marion Lewis, 22, 21, 18 years of age. I mean, these seem to me, call me whatever you want, call me racist if you like. I don't, it doesn't, it's not going to be accurate, but, if you want to get offended at what I have to say, go ahead. But it seems to me that these guys are thugs. These guys are murderers. These guys, I can believe it. I can believe the allegations that these three are members of a gang and that they attempted to shoot Jaslyn's father because he too is a gang member. Obviously I'm going by allegations. And if that is the case, then yes, the parents are to blame. The parent, the Jonte Adams, the father, would be to blame for being involved in a gang. And the mother, even if she isn't gang related, she would be to blame for allowing her child to be with a gang member. Anyway, I guess that I've gone through that as thoroughly as anyone needs to. Okay, the three that I mentioned have been arrested. They've been taken into custody. All three are being held without bond in the Cook County Jail. I mean, it's a dreadfully sad situation, or indeed situations. And I think this lady here has really got some... She's got some introspection to do. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She's responsible. Ultimately, this is her area. It's her city. She is the mayor. She is responsible for the safety within the city. And seemingly, the violence has continued to escalate within Chicago. Thuggery, gang life has continued to be fostered without being adequately addressed. Now, I'm going to mention that I'm perhaps a little bit hypocritical. I listen to Chicago drill music. I listen to Lil Durk, King Von. These are good artists in my mind. I enjoy the music, but we can't condone the actual violence. We can't condone the actual murdering and slaying, the gang retaliation, especially when it involves the murders, the deaths of complete innocents, and when it involves the I can't think of the right word, but the recruitment of children into gangs. Lori Lightfoot really ultimately is the person who is at fault here.